So yesterday I was outside all day long. We were doing yard work, we were outside playing with the kids, we were out there until it got dark. I realized this morning that I had gotten a couple mosquito bites, and as I was like scratching one of them, I felt like a little lump, like a little whatever, and I knew it wasn't a mosquito bite, and I was like, crap, I have a tick. So I took the tick off and I flushed it and did whatever, and it got me thinking, guys, and I wanted to talk to you guys about something. This is one of the reasons why I really like YouTube. I think it is so important to get the word out about things that are important, or to spread the word about things that people should know. I think that it's great that we can all laugh and have fun and do fun videos and just share our days, but there's a lot of important information that people can spread really easily and really well through YouTube, and I feel like this is one of those times. Back when we lived in Germany, when we first moved there, Maverick was entering kindergarten, and it was the summer before he was entering kindergarten, and the kids were outside playing just like they always play, and Maverick came in for dinner, and I noticed that he had a tick on his neck, and it was like right about here on his neck. And I pulled it off, and we did, we flushed it down the toilet, made sure that there wasn't anything left in there, and then basically what we did was watch for that rash that comes when you get Lyme's disease. We wanted to make sure he didn't get any infection, and we wanted to make sure he didn't get that rash. So we watched it over a few weeks, nothing happened, and over time we kind of forgot about it. Flash forward a couple months. He had been in kindergarten for a while. I think it was like springtime now. So like the whole school year goes by, and it's getting warmer out, and Maverick starts complaining about these really bad headaches. I mean, it wasn't like, Mom, I have a headache and I just don't feel good. He was coming home from school, he was running in the door, he was dropping his bag, he would go into our bedroom, turn off the lights, close the curtains, and lay on the floor and hold his head. And I mean, it was that bad. I can remember thinking like, wow, I've never known a kid to have a migraine before, but that's what Maverick has. He has a migraine. Maverick also had like terrible eye pain. He kept pushing on his eyeballs and saying his eyes were hurting too. A couple of days of this went by where he had a headache, and but it wasn't like all the time. It was like, he had a headache, and then the next day he was okay, and then he'd have a headache again, and the next day he was okay. So I was like making sure he was eating right, making sure he was drinking water, and then I went into his teachers and I asked them, hey, have you noticed that Maverick wasn't feeling well because he keeps coming home with these horrible headaches? I was hoping they would tell me that Maverick wasn't feeling well in school as well, and then I would think, okay, he's getting sick. But that wasn't the case. They were like, oh no, Maverick's fine in school. In fact, he plays all day long, and he's, there's no problems with him. I was so confused why he was having these headaches when he came home. And I love these teachers. They were great teachers. It was a super small school. We were all close with each other. It wasn't like there was no communication. There was complete communication going on. And they said, well, Maverick has, trouble with reading, and we have a quiz coming up, so maybe he's just really nervous. Maybe the anxiety is causing him to get headaches. I thought, that totally seems like that could be a possibility. So I just kept watching him, and over time, like again, he would get a couple headaches, they would disappear, but it was never like every day that made me think, oh my gosh, Maverick is really sick and needs help. So this went on for a little while, and then after a few more weeks, Maverick started to say that his back hurt, and we were sitting one night having dinner, and he just did this thing where he was like, my back hurts so bad, Mom, my back hurts so bad, I don't want to eat dinner, I don't want to eat dinner. And then he went to the couch and he was fine to eat dinner in front of the television. So I was like, oh, Maverick. I thought maybe Maverick was just trying to get attention, or he didn't want to go to school, or he just wanted to stay home with me. So I kind of like didn't play into it too much. The weird thing is again, it was never all the time. It was like he'd be sick one day and then he'd be fine. Then I'd watch him have a sleepover and he'd be fine. He'd go to school and he'd be fine. He wasn't like knocked down where you would think this kid was extremely sick. What started to scare me was he started sleeping a lot, and he was sleeping like, he'd come home and he'd fall asleep on the couch, and he started sleeping. And I thought, oh crap, I hope he doesn't have mono again. This is weird, because that's kind of what happened when he had mono. I was bringing him into our room to sleep in our room, just to keep an eye on him. And one night, Jeff and I went to bed, and Maverick was sleeping on our floor, and he woke up in the middle of the night screaming that his back hurt so badly that it was scary. It was one of the scariest moments because he was on the floor screaming that his back hurt, and I kept saying, Maverick, well, where does it hurt? He kept saying, I don't know, and he was like retching. He was like, I don't know, it just hurts so bad, and he couldn't get comfortable. And I'm telling you guys, he did this the entire night, and it was like so frustrating because it was something that woke him up out of sleep, and I knew it was serious, but at the same time, like, we were all being kept awake, and it was just, he would like fall asleep for a second, and Jeff and I would like lay back as quiet as we could so we didn't wake him up. I mean, we felt like we had like a newborn again. I mean, it was just such a bad night. It was so bad, and it was so scary. Because we were living in Germany, we didn't have family around, and I didn't have very many people to talk to, especially because this was like the first year we just lived there. I didn't have very many friends. So I was communicating with my family through Facebook, and I was letting them know what was going on with Maverick. And I told my mom that Maverick was having neck pain, and right away my mom and my sister were like, that's not good, that sounds like meningitis, go take him into the doctor. So the day after he had that horrible neck pain, I took him into the doctor, and they tested him. You know, they did the thing where you put your neck down, they looked at him, they pricked his finger, took some blood, and it came back that his white blood cell count was high. But he thinks that because this had been going on for so long, he thought that Maverick must have had some sort of a virus or something going on, and it was now going away. He sent me home. I told my mom I got his finger pricked. We brought him home. We laid him down. I posted a picture of him on Facebook, said all is well, we're just gonna watch him. I think it was Memorial Day weekend, so that Sunday I let the kids stay up late because they didn't have to go to school on Monday, and I was making these root beer floats for them, and I made one for each one of the kids, and I placed them down in front of them with straws, and Maverick started drinking his and said, my straw doesn't work, Mom, it's not sucking up. So I said, oh, Maverick, go get another one. And he did it again. He's like, Mom, it's not working, my straw's not working. And I was like, oh, Maverick, we'll just stop chewing it. You know, as a parent, you don't pick up on all these like little things. And I just never would have thought that there was anything wrong. I was just happy that he was feeling a little better. He hadn't complained about his head or his neck. I felt better that I brought him to the doctor, so I wasn't picking up on all these little things that almost every kid goes through every day. They drank these root beer floats. We went to bed that night, and the next day we took them to an amusement park. It was about a half hour, 45 minutes drive to this amusement park, and Maverick fell asleep in the car, but that's not that strange because he does fall asleep every once in a while. But again, I thought he was getting over this virus. Then we got to the amusement park, and I hear Maverick and Gracie talking to each other, and Gracie goes, Mom, Maverick's making a face at me and he won't stop. And I was like, Maverick, why are you making that face? And he was like, what face? And I said, Maverick, knock it off. We walk into the park, and they have a little place where they feed the goats, and the kids are feeding the goats, and I look at Maverick and he's actually smiling and laughing, and I look at him and there is something completely wrong with his face. I'm like, something's wrong with my son. And what happened was he was smiling, but only half of his face was smiling. So it was like he was just kind of like this the whole time. And I looked at him and I said, Maverick, you need to stop right now, and if you don't stop, we are leaving this park. I'm just gonna let you know we are going home, because I thought maybe he was just being silly, but it was scaring me. So I told him if he didn't stop, we were gonna leave, and I thought that that would make him stop. And I will never forget the look on his face, because he kind of looked up at me like, Mom, I'm not making a face. Like, what face are you talking about? So it was then that I thought there was something like really going on. My heart like dropped to the ground. I told Jeff that I thought there was something wrong with Maverick, but I didn't want to scare the other kids. And so what I thought I would do was, there was like this little kid ride that you can put the kids on, and the parent operates it, and you move it and it kind of rocks up and down. I knew Maverick would love it. So I said to Jeff, let's put Maverick on this ride and let's see if he's joking, because if he's joking, he's gonna laugh and his smile is gonna be like showing, and if he's not joking, he's not gonna be able to control his face. So I put him on the ride, and Jeff starts, you know, making it go up and down, and Maverick's face was only working on one side. His entire left side of his face was completely frozen. It was just one of the scariest feelings you will ever have as a parent, when you look at your child and you can visually see that there's something wrong. Like, as the day progressed, his face was getting worse, and it was to the point where like it almost, like his one side of his face almost started sagging, like drooping. I don't even like to think about it. I never thought this could have had anything to do with any tick or anything like that. That was so long ago. For me, I was thinking my son had a stroke. I was like, oh my gosh, something happened to our son. He had a stroke. We need to get him to the hospital right away. Got the kids ready. We packed them up. I dropped Zoe and Gracie off at home. Zoe was old enough at the time to babysit Gracie, and I had a friend that came over to check on the two of them, and Jeff and I went to the hospital together. Everyone that works there speaks German, so it was a little bit hard to have a 5-year-old there when he's scared and we're all scared, and the language barrier made it a little bit harder to be able to speak so freely about what was going on. And right away they looked at Maverick and they said, has he ever been bitten by a tick? And it caught me so off guard, because I really, I didn't even think about that. I mean, I just didn't think about that tick that he had almost a year ago. And I said, you know, yeah, he did have a tick on him, but this was like a really long time ago. And they said, okay, we're gonna check him for, it's this type of bacteria that you find in your bloodstream. It's called Borreliosis. I think I'm pronouncing it right. We're gonna keep him overnight, and tomorrow morning we are going to do a spinal on him and check to see, because if it was this Borreliosis, basically Lyme's disease, it has already traveled, like for it to affect his face and everything, it's already gone through, and it would be in his spinal fluid. Jeff went home with the girls. Maverick and I stayed overnight at this hospital, and the next morning they came into the room and they started explaining the procedure that they were gonna do, and they sat Maverick down, and as they do in Germany, they're very blunt. They aren't, you know, they're not mean in any way, but they're very blunt. And they sat Maverick down and they said, we are going to give you some happy juice, and then we are going to take a needle and we're going to put it in your back. You will not feel it, and we're gonna check to see what's going on. And Maverick was sitting there the whole time going, uh-huh. We signed the paperwork, and then they left the room, and right away Maverick got up and said, I don't want a needle in my back. And he ran into the bathroom and he closed the door and he locked it. And I sat there and I like rolled my eyes for a second. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is just horrible. And then I remembered, oh my gosh, Maverick hasn't seen his face. I get to the door and I, you know, shake the little door handle, and I'm like, Maverick, honey, it's Mama, let me in. And all I hear in the bathroom, I hear him crying, and I'm like, Maverick, come on buddy, let me in. And the next thing I hear is, oh my God, my face. Let me tell you that I don't even want to think about it, you guys. When Maverick would laugh or cry, his face became so much worse. He looked so different. I mean, I can't explain it to you. When something happens where your face literally goes paralyzed and there's nothing you can do about it, you look so different. Everything on your face droops. Like, you don't even realize it. Your eyelid droops, your eyebrow droops, your skin kind of droops. Nothing is like, it's like this. And so when you smile, everything's like this, but on this side, it's just, it doesn't work at all. So I was able to finally get him out of the bathroom, and they came to get him to go do his spinal, and they got him, and he was really scared, but we were able to calm him down, and they took him into the room and they gave him some sort of sedative. He drank it, he started to get tired, and then Jeff and I had to leave the room. They gave him the spinal, and then for an entire 24 hours, Maverick had to lay flat on his back. And they were saying to us, it shouldn't be so bad because this stuff that we're giving him will knock him out and he'll probably sleep for a little while. So basically you just have to keep him laying down for a little while. Well, that had like the complete opposite effect on Maverick. He came out and he was a little groggy right away. And then within like 20 minutes, he was crying. He wanted to get up, he wanted to stand up, and I remember looking at my watch and I was like, that was a half hour. We have 23 and a half more hours where Maverick cannot get up. It was the longest day ever. Maverick had to literally lay on his back because they were afraid, if anyone's ever had a spinal, they were afraid of that spinal headache, which is horrible. So they had him lay down flat on his back, and I mean, he couldn't go to the bathroom. He was just a mess. It was so long. So after 24 hours, Maverick could stand up. So then the doctor came in and said to us, all right, this is the deal. If you want us to, we can start an extremely strong antibiotic on Maverick right now, but I need your signature saying that it is okay, because if he doesn't have basically Lyme's disease, we're going to have to know that it's okay that we started this really strong antibiotic on him. Rather than waiting until the test gets back, we started early, and then he'll be that much more into his recovery. So I let them know, yes, I wanted him to start the antibiotics. They would have this therapist come in that did work on Maverick's face. She would massage his face with this little machine thing to get it to get the nerves stimulated so that he wouldn't have any permanent damage. And every morning when the doctor would make his rounds and he would come in, until we got the results back, he would say, listen, if this isn't Lyme's disease, we don't know what it is with Maverick, and he might just have to go home, or we might be sending him up to a serious children's hospital. And so for those 4 days waiting to find out if my son had this, because if not, then it's just some unknown disease, it was like the longest 4 days of my life. They did the spinal on Tuesday, so it was Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Friday morning they came in and they said that it was positive. Maverick had Lyme's disease, and basically what had happened was the tick got him in the neck, and over a course of that year, almost a year, the Lyme's disease had gone through his entire body, and then it reached his spinal fluid and his spinal cord, and it had gone up and it had gotten to his brain, and it caused swelling up there, which is basically meningitis. So my mom was correct. He had gotten meningitis, and that was causing all those problems with his head, with his neck. It was causing the swelling actually put pressure on one of his facial nerves, and that caused the Bell's palsy in his face. The final diagnosis was Maverick was diagnosed with stage 2 Lyme disease. This little tick had caused all those problems with my son. He spent a month in the German hospital. He missed all of the rest of that school year and ended up having to have summer school, and his teacher was amazing. She came and taught him that whole summer, so he wasn't behind. But it was such a horrible thing to happen to such a small kid. His Bell's palsy took a little bit longer to heal up, but not as long as they had expected. They were telling me it could have been over a course of a year. But thank God with Maverick, by the time we left the hospital, his face had already started to clear a little bit, so it wasn't as noticeable. I could notice it as his mom, but not too many other people could notice. Basically, the hospital told me that with the dose of antibiotics he got, it killed everything that's going on inside him, and he is healed. But studies show that people who have Lyme disease can either have permanent damage or can get sick again in a couple years, and they do not know if it's lasting effects from the Lyme disease or if you got rebitten again by another tick and now you just have Lyme disease all over again, because you can get Lyme disease more than once. Now, Maverick has really done extremely well. He hardly shows any signs of any sickness, any problems. I do have to say that he does get neck and back pain a little bit more than your average kid, but I don't know if it's just because I am now super watching over him. Besides it being a horrible, horrible scare for our entire family, he's doing well. I mean, he's doing great now. He's a fighter, and he got over it, and he now knows how to be kinder to those who have issues and problems, because he was one of those kids. The worst part about Lyme disease is it mimics so many other things. You don't always get that ring. Maverick never got it. 25% of Lyme disease cases, you do not get the red ring. And that's why I never understood what Maverick was happening. I took him to the doctors, I was asking his teachers, but his symptoms were so up and down. I could never pinpoint it that there was something really wrong until it got really bad. Now, another thing is that in Germany or in the European countries, Lyme disease is a little bit more neurological. Over here in the United States, when you get Lyme disease, it affects more of your joints, but over there, it affects you more neurologically. And so that's why Maverick had all those symptoms with his brain and everything. Also, if you get a tick, you can hold on to them and they can test it. They can also test for your animals too. They can test the tick to see if it carries the Borreliosis. I think that's how you pronounce it. I really wanted to do this video because when I found that tick on me yesterday, it just really made me think about what happened with Maverick. And I really just wanted to make sure that you guys all keep an eye on yourselves and your kids and make sure you check for any ticks. I really wish that I would have had some of this information before it happened with Maverick, because I think that if I would have known a little bit earlier, I would have maybe known the signs to watch out for with him. I never thought you could get Lyme disease without the rash, so I kind of just completely ignored all those symptoms. And if I would have known the signs to look for, I most likely would have gone and had him just take that test real easy just to rule it out, or get him on the antibiotics so that this would have never happened. If you guys have any stories that you want to share, or have any comments or any information for me, please leave it down below. I did this video especially for that because I want to help some child or some adult or some family with this information so that they don't have to go through what we went through. It was a really hard time for our family. It was a really scary thing that was completely not necessary. We live in a very foresty neighborhood and we are bringing in ticks all the time. I feel a lot better knowing what to look for with my children so that I don't ever have to go through that again. I hope you guys have a great day. Do not be afraid to go outside and enjoy the outdoors, but just be really careful when it comes to ticks. If you do get a tick, just watch out for the signs. And like I said before, just go right into the doctor. It's a very simple test. They can test for it and start you on antibiotics and you'll never have to go through what we went through. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate every single one of you guys. If you like my videos, subscribe to my channel so we'll keep making more videos, and I'll talk to you guys soon, okay? Thanks guys. Bye. We're going to go shopping. Wait, before we go in, I just want to introduce everyone to my mama. This is my best friend, my favorite person in the whole entire world, and I cannot believe this is the first time I've ever had her.